Man, this isn't the Pep Guardiola we all thought we knew. Pep City has changed. We're seeing a Guardiola team that's sitting back more, with the lowest possession stat he's had in over 9 years. The start to this season hasn't been the best, and there's even a new signing that shows he's taking a different approach. So yeah, Pep's evolving, but the real question is, how much of this change is for the worse? And is his strategy to get Manchester City back on top really working?
Let's talk about the game against Arsenal for a second. That was a huge sign of change. It was almost like a completely different Pep Guardiola team. They only had 32.8% possession. This is the lowest ever for a Pep City team in the Premier League. The craziest part? When Pep was asked about that record low possession after the game, his response was wild. He said, "I'm proud of that. Arsenal deserves credit for how they played, but sometimes that's how it goes." He was actually proud of having such low possession, and that's what's nuts about it. He set the team up to play that way on purpose. This wasn't just a random event, it was part of the plan. Pep's not just changing his style, he's evolving. And evolution, just like with anything, comes with a few mistakes and learning curves. But let's be real, evolution has never been a problem for Pep. This is the same guy who has won 7 out of the last 9 Premier League titles since he arrived in 2016. Over the years, he's adjusted his tactics, like moving from inverted fullbacks to using a false 9 and then going back to a traditional number 9. But even with all these changes, his core principles have stayed the same. City has always kept possession, been patient, and waited for the opposition to slip up. He's always built his teams with players who fit his system. So why is he changing it now? It's simple. He knows what football's future looks like.
It might have seemed like a small statement, but it's actually a pretty big deal. What he's talking about is City becoming a team that's built to win the ball back quickly and then attack the space behind the opposition. It's all about the transition game. It's a bit different from the old Pep we saw, who focused on possession. When Pep said transition football is the future, he wasn't kidding. Teams like Brighton and Bournemouth, he mentioned them months ago as teams showing us the future of football. Why? Because the game is moving away from fixed positions and is becoming faster, more fluid. It's about exploiting the gaps left by the other team as quickly as possible.
A perfect example of this happened just 10 minutes into the Arsenal game. Look, no matter what you think about him, one of Pep's best qualities is that he's great at reading the game's trends. If you watch Haaland's positioning on that goal, it's different. Under Pep in the past, you'd expect Haaland to be waiting right around the penalty box, just waiting for a cross or a chance to shoot. But this time, he was deep in his own half, starting the play, running into space, and setting himself up to get the ball for the opener.
He also had another chance running from near midfield after a quick City counterattack. If he had made the right decision there instead of going for the shot himself, City might have been 2-0 up. The point here is that Pep's plan did work. Still not convinced? Look back to City's first home game of the season against Spurs. They lost 2-0, but in his post-match interview, Pep talked about the same thing again.
He said, "We missed the simple things with the ball. We lost because they took advantage of the gaps we left. Simple as that. We couldn't control the ball and they punished us in transition." What Pep was really saying is that they couldn't get the basics right, especially when it came to playing out from the back. That's exactly how Spurs scored their second goal. City made a mistake from a bad pass.
Look at how quickly Spurs worked the ball. Just 3 passes between Pedro Porro, Richarlison, and Brennan Johnson, and boom, goal. They went from deep in their own half to getting the ball in the back of City's net. This right here is the shift Pep Guardiola's been waiting for, and it shows why he's changing his approach. If City had pulled off a win against Arsenal, the media would have been all over Pep, praising him for his tactics. But the truth is, Pep knew he was always going to make this shift towards transition football. He just needed the right moment to pull it off. And those moments came with a couple of key events that forced his hand in the 2024-25 season: Julian Alvarez leaving and Rodri's injury.
You might be wondering, how are those two connected? It's like a chain reaction. In the summer of 2024, Julian Alvarez decided to leave City and join Atletico Madrid for more playing time. If you watched him at City, you know he was incredibly versatile. He could play anywhere in the attack even behind Haaland as a number 10, making both players a dual threat. But with Alvarez gone, City didn't replace him, which weakened the squad. And then, just as things were looking rough, Rodri tore his ACL.
Things got pretty bad from there. By December, after a 1-1 draw against Everton, City was 5 points off the top 4 and 14 points behind Liverpool, and they'd won just once in their last 13 games across all competitions. That's when Pep knew something had to change. So, he made moves in the January transfer window. But honestly, that's when we really saw the shift toward transition football.
Pep brought in a few players, but 3 of them stand out. Omar Marmush from Eintracht Frankfurt, Nico Gonzalez from Porto, and Abdikadia Kusanov from Russia. Looking at Marmush and Gonzalez, it's clear Pep was looking for replacements for Alvarez, especially someone versatile and dynamic.
Marmush, like Alvarez, can play anywhere in attack. Before coming to City, he was in incredible form in the Bundesliga. He was leading the league in goals and assists and was even topping the charts for shots taken. That's the thing, Marmush isn't your typical Pep player. He's the kind of guy who will take a shot from anywhere, which isn't exactly in line with Pep's usual wait for the perfect opening style. But for transition football, that's exactly what Pep needs. Someone who can surprise opponents and take advantage of fast breaks.
Then there's Nico Gonzalez. At Porto, everyone thought he'd be the one to replace Rodri, but watching him play, he's actually more of a box-to-box midfielder. He loves getting forward and arriving in the box to finish chances. He's not someone who's going to hang back in a holding midfield role like Rodri did. What really made things clear was the changes Pep made in the summer. For example, Tijjani Rinders, who Pep brought in as a younger, more mobile version of İlkay Gündoğan. He's a great ball carrier, but what really sets him apart is his off-the-ball movement. When City launches a fast break, Rinders is the guy making those runs into the opposition's box, giving the team another option on transitions.
Now, for all this talk about transitions, there's something Pep is about to do that he's never done before in his entire career. Not at Barcelona, not at Bayern Munich, and not at City. Pep has always relied on a ball-playing goalkeeper. From Victor Valdez to Manuel Neuer to Ederson, he's always preferred a keeper who's comfortable with the ball at their feet, who can play out from the back. But here's the kicker. When Pep arrived at City, he told Joe Hart something that shocked the English keeper.
It was a great man who had a vision that I didn't fit into, which is what he said. He's a good goalkeeper, but for me the system doesn't work, which is fine for his opinion. But then he took charge of the club that I was a part of and that I love.
And just like that, Joe Hart's time at City was over. Pep's philosophy was clear. Even someone with 3 Golden Glove awards wasn't a fit for what Pep was building. That moment was a sign of things to come, and it's all part of Pep's bigger transition.
So, after Joe Hart, Pep's goalkeeping philosophy was clear. He needed a goalkeeper who was comfortable with the ball at his feet. That's why in the next season, he went out and signed Ederson Moraes, who became a legend at City. Fast forward to this summer, though, and Pep's made a huge change. Signing Gianluigi Donnarumma, that's a massive statement. On one hand, Donnarumma is one of the best keepers in the world, no question about that. He was a big reason why PSG won the quadruple last season. But here's the catch. Donnarumma isn't exactly known for being great with his feet. He's average at best when it comes to playing out from the back. So why would Pep sign him and move away from his usual system? Well, Pep addressed this himself. When asked about whether Donnarumma's style signals a shift to more direct football, Pep said this: "We have to get to know each other. I'm not going to ask him to do something he's not comfortable with. I never ask a player to do something that doesn't feel natural for them." That tells us a lot. Basically, Pep's not going to force Donnarumma to play out from the back if he's not comfortable with it. What this means is we might be seeing a City team that doesn't rely on the ball-playing goalkeeper anymore. So far in his first few games with City, Donnarumma's been solid. 2 clean sheets in 3 games with a few excellent saves, including a big one in the Manchester derby. But this isn't just about the goalkeeper. Pep's making changes all around. He also brought in Pep Linders this summer, the assistant manager who worked with Jurgen Klopp to turn Liverpool into a dominant team based on transition football.
It might feel strange seeing Pep play this kind of football, but if it gets City back on top, it could be his best reinvention yet, leaving behind the old system and succeeding with something new. So, what do you think? Is Pep's changing style the right move? Does this Manchester City squad have what it takes to play this new kind of football? Or do you think Pep is just a couple of losses away from going back to his possession-based approach? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Football 90 for more videos like this.